It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted a neighbor just like you. A neighbor who likes cars, trucks, and restorations too. Let's make the most of this beautiful day. And since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my subscriber? Working on the hood today. This is one of the biggest repairs that I need to do to this truck before we prime it. But there's a crack that developed that I've shown you in a couple of videos, but I'll show you real quick in case you didn't see those videos. There's a crack right there in the hood, and it wraps all the way around about an inch into the top of the hood. And I thought it was caused by, pushing on this hood, pushing it up over and over again until it finally gave way. But now I'm thinking that the pads that are built in to the hood that will actually rest on the adjustable hood rests, I guess they're called, has basically pushed this pad all the way down to the metal, and it's all bent down, and it looks like there was so much pressure on this over time that it actually caused this crack and then came around the side, and it was probably aggravated by the opening and closing of the hood as well. So not only do I need to fix the crack, but I also need to bend these pads both sides back out and get all this straight again. And then when I place the tubing, so this is 3/4 inch square tubing that I got from Home Depot. It was about $8. And it actually fits in this channel extremely well. It's a little big, but it's not horrible. But once I place this in there, I'm going to cut it and go all the way past, or all the way to this brace right here. There's a brace that runs across here. Cut it right there. I'm going to bend it just to the arc of this hood right there, and then bend this tab up, place it down in, and then I'm going to weld it along the side here and along the edge here, and then along the edge on the bottom of the hood right here, so that it stays stable and it won't have that issue again. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. There's already a crack developing right here. It hasn't gone to the side or the bottom, but there's a crack there, so I know it needs to be done on both sides. Now, this was not anything that I dreamed up. I knew I was going to need to gusset this somehow, but I didn't find this repair online. Someone had done it. It looked really good, so we're going to replicate that here. Just going to work from the end here so I don't pry down and damage the top of the hood. Probably going to bend it up a little bit more than it was so I can get the bracing underneath there. You can see that crack right there. Alright, now I got a wire wheel underneath all this and get this cleaned out. And then I'm going to hit it with some clean strip phosphoric acid to kill the rust. And then after using some acetone to neutralize the acid and clean it off, I'm going to put some rust prohibitive primer in there. Better vantage point here. So the hood curves at the front, starting from about where this line is that I placed into the hood right here, starts curving forward. So I had to modify that 3/4 inch tubing because the width here on the outside was 0.730, so less than 3/4 of an inch. But there was also 1, 2, 3 pieces of steel in between the inside distance. So a little bit of math. The steel that's on this hood is 0.07 thickness, 2, and that's where we're going to start this. So I took the 3/4 inch tubing and I cut a notch in the back, or in the to go over this this support right here. I cut that one, I can't remember now, 1 1/4 inches deep, to clear the brace here, and then cut a relief cut approximately from the brace 6 3/4 inches in. And that relief cut, all that did was, there's just a really slight bend right here, and I just wanted to enable this to flex a little bit. And then once I place it in, I'll tack this shut at whatever, you know, I already tested it once and the gap wasn't completely closed, but it did flex a little bit. And then I went in 1 3/4 inches from the end here where I had marked it. I wanted it to be underneath this hood support right here. I wanted it to be underneath this somehow, so when this starts to bend down in the future, there'll be a brace underneath it to at least slow the progress of this thing moving down. So I basically took it to this spot weld right in the center of the pad, and I measured back to where the width goes back to its max width in the thickness of the hood, and cut that relief in this all the way back to there, and then just kept shaving it and shaving it until I got to 0.520. And then once I put the relief cut and I got this down to 0.520, it fits great. So now I have to kind of work it into where it fits right into the corners. Bend the corners over, hammer and dolly it a little bit to get it to where it fits perfectly. Second one welded up and a little bit of grinding. I welded this up just a little bit in order to kind of close this. I wanted the hood was bent up, or in this case down, creating that gap. And I had to get it back up again in order to get it to the correct curvature before I weld in this crack here, which is going to then hold this or brace this. So I just did some tack welding here and ground it down. And now I'm going to insert this into this space. I still have to pull this lip up a little bit, get it down in there. I'm going to hammer and dolly that down, put a nice little spot weld there, pull it back out again, weld the entire thing up, grind it down, repaint it, and then slide it back in and weld it in, and then it will be complete. And that's where we're going. Now that I've got it welded, tapered, notched in the back for this brace right here, I'm going to now go ahead and weld it through the bottom of the hood holes here, and then I'm going to weld it to the brace here, but I'm not going to weld it through the top. Primarily because this isn't necessarily going to float, but I don't want it to, as I'm pushing this hood up, I don't want the pressure to be on the welds on the top because I'm afraid it's going to crack the paint. So I'd rather it be on the welds on the bottom and on this brace, and then hopefully the top of the hood won't see any effect at all, and that's kind of what I'm going for. So my thinking may be flawed, but that's where I'm headed with it. And here it is, all welded in. It's all welded in and solid there. Time will tell whether or not this was a good idea, but I don't think it's going to crack in the same place it did before. In fact, I can even tell where it cracked. I can stick my whole hand underneath it now. Same thing over in this corner right there. Then I'm getting almost done stripping the rest of the inside of the hood. We're going to get that brushed out and get ready, etch it, flip it over, get the paint off the rest of it, and then onto the rest of the body. Just a small hood modification so that I don't have to buy a new hood. I've seen this modification done online at least once or twice, something similar, using angle iron instead of box tubing, and seemed to work out for them. We're going to try this for us, see if it works out. I don't think it's going to harm the paint any, and I think it added some structural rigidity to the hood, which it really needs. So let me know what you think in the comments. Now on to finishing the rest of the hood and gap in the body. Then I'm going to tape it off into quadrants and go through and clean the thing completely before I put it in primer. I'm going to set that date probably in the next video or two. I've already taken some vacation in September around our hunt, which I'm going to take you on, by the way. And so it'll be hunt, prime, hunt, paint. That may be the way that we run this thing. We're also still in the hunt for Mandy's new vehicle because the Jeep JK went to my daughter, and we've narrowed it down to a couple of vehicles, and that may show up as well. It is going to be a classic vehicle. It is going to be a classic truck or SUV of some kind. Not to mention that I have my eye on a dream vehicle of my own, and oddly enough, it's in Seattle. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but more to come in the next videos. That's a wrap for Mile Point 3 Garage. Make sure you hit the subscribe button.